Well, hello again. Welcome again to another podcast, another episode of Down to Earth but Heavenly Minded. I'm your host, Irv Rish. We're going through the textbook for life, the Bible. And if you'll notice, I have a black spot up here next to me, and I'm just blocking out my wife because she doesn't want to be in this video. Well, today we're going to be looking at uh, chapter 21 in the book of Genesis, and this is the birth of Isaac. And I've got a little something after we finish this scripture reading I'll share with you. Now let's just read the scripture. The Lord visited Sarah, and he had said, and the Lord did to Sarah as he had promised. And Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the time to which God had spoken to him. Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, who Sarah bore him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, God has made laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh over me. And she said, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have bore him a son in his old age. Now God protects Hagar and Ishmael, which was Abraham's son by Hagar. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom she had bore to Abraham, laughing. So she said to Abraham, cast out the slave woman with her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not be heirs with my son Isaac. And the thing was very displeasing to Abraham on account of his son. But God said to Abraham, be not displeased because of the boy and because of your slave woman. Whatever Sarah says to you, do. She tells you, for though Isaac shall your offspring be named, and I will make a nation of the son of the slave woman also, because he is your offspring. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulders along with the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water of the skin was gone, she put the child under one of the bushes. Then she went and sat down opposite him a good ways off, about the distance of a bowshot. And she said, let me not look on the death of the child. And as she sat opposite him, she lifted up her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the boy. And the angel of the Lord called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Up, lift up the boy, and hold him fast with your hands, for I will make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy to drink. And God was with the boy, and he grew up. He lived in the wilderness and became a Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Now, there's a treaty that was made with Abimelech, as we read before. And at that time, Abimelech uh, commanded his army and said to Abraham, God is with you in all that you do. Now, therefore, swear to me here by God that you will not deal falsely with me, or with my descendants, or with my uh, prosperity, but as I have dealt kindly with you, so you will deal with me, and with the land where you have sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech about a well of water, and Abimelech's servants had seized. Abimelech said, I do not know who has done this thing, but you did not tell me. I have not heard of it until today. So Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and the two men made a covenant. Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock apart, and Abimelech said to Abraham, what is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs that you have set apart? He said, these are 7 ewe lambs you will take from my hand, that this may be a witness for me that I dug this well. Therefore the place was called Bathsheba, because they both of them swore an oath. So they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech and Pisco, the commander of his army, rose up and returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a trademark tree, a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord and the everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned many days in the land of the Philistines. And this ends the reading of our scripture. But I also have this I'd like to share with you. You know, sometimes you just read something that's really so easy to understand. And what I did is I went out on the internet, and this is what I wrote here, and this is an article that I want to share with you. And this is on Genesis 18 and 21, which we have read 21 today, and we read 18 the other day. Sometime telling stories to children is the best way to understand a story. I found this little story online about the birth of Isaac that was told to children. This story covers what we already had read in 18 and 21. This is the story. So God promised Abraham and Sarah that they would have many descendants, but they grew very old and still weren't able to have children together. They thought it would be impossible to have children now that they were old. But God maintained his promise, and they would have a son, and they would name him Isaac. As you read in the story, pay attention to Sarah's reaction when the angels promised that she would have a son. Abraham sat outside his tent in the middle of a hot day, and all of a sudden he was surprised to see 3 men standing near him. Although he was old now, knowing at the time that men were angels in disguise, he got up quickly and greeted them. He said to them, my Lord, if I find favor with you, do not pass by your servant. Let me give you a little water and wash your feet, so that you can rest yourself under a tree. letting me bring you some bread too before you go. But we know that he made a meal. Do as you have said, they replied. And Abraham ran into the tent to Sarai and asked her to prepare 3 loaves of bread for them. And then he went out and asked the servant to prepare some meat for them as well. And he brought all these things for them to eat. Where is your wife Sarah? They asked. Then, there in the tent, Abraham replied. One of them said, I will return to you next year, and your wife Sarah will have a son. And Sarah overheard this from the entrance of the tent, and she had longed for a son for many years, but that had never been able to have a baby. She was very old by this time, and she could not contain her laughter. And there was said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh? Is there anything too wonderful for the Lord? Sarah shall have a son. The Lord did as he promised for the couple. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son, and they named him Isaac, which means laughter. When her son was born, Sarah said, God has brought laughter to me. Everyone who hears will laugh with me. Who would have ever said that we would have children, yet I have given birth to a son in my old age. This story was written by Jared Deeds, and this is a simple little story, but it says it all in easy to understand language. And really, that's what the Bible is about. It's easy to understand some of the stories. It's just a little hard to get into what some of the stories actually mean. And the next episode, we're going to look at Abraham offering up his son Isaac as a sacrifice. And there's a lot of meaning in that story. And we're going to go over that the next time we get together. So with that said, I'm just going to end this episode and this broadcast. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.